What is influence? Influence is not removing choice from people. It's getting people to agree willfully and with choice what you're proposing.
You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Here we are in beautiful Tulum, Mexico, on a beach, bringing you the goods. Today we're going to talk about influence. There was a popular book written about influence Influence by Robert Cialdini, and you might have heard about it. But today I want to talk about how to really bring that into your real life. A lot of examples they give are like hypothetical examples. I want to talk about how do you use this in your day-to-day social interactions and just really get the most out of it. Okay, so by the way, if you're new to the channel or you're new to what I'm doing here, I'm putting out a whole series of videos about the idea of influence. And I want to clarify what influence actually is. Okay, so let's start off with that right there. What is influence? Well, influence is not manipulation. People generally think you can make people do whatever you want them to do, which is not the case. They kind of think of the idea of hypnosis, where I put you into a deep sleep. You are getting very sleepy. And then I say, quack like a duck. And then you wake up and you can't help it. You just always quack like a duck. It's out of control. There's nothing you can do about it. Well, that's not actually how influence works. Because the more you go out actually practicing social dynamics and you learn this in real life, you realize that people have a mind of their own. So very back in the day, okay, we practice things called routines. And routines were designed to get the best outcome of any social situation possible. So we go out, we memorize some words, maybe they get us like 1 minute of interaction where somebody was laughing and smiling. They said, okay, great. We'd go home and we'd write down verbatim exactly what we said. And then we'd say, all right, tomorrow I'm gonna go out and try it for 1.5 minutes. And we'd go out for 1.5 minutes and we'd do that, try to make it even better. And I'd say, all right, tomorrow let's go on. We'd compile this over many, many months until you would get what's called a routine down. And that routine might be 10 to 15 minutes of interactions. It'd be good enough to like meet somebody, get a phone number, possibly network, all right? And what we found is that with these routines, we try to like control the possible scenarios. And we can never control all of them. There is a likely scenario, but you can't control all of them. So for example, scenario 1 happens and you try to control the 5 other things that might happen. And that works to an extent, but you never actually learn the skill of influence. You're just following a rote memorization that you have, and you hope that it doesn't go off the rails and fuck up, and you hope that it works out, and you hope that it doesn't go bad. But once it does go bad, you don't know how to recover, and you're lost. You're like, it's over. So the point that I'm making here is that influence is not removing choice from people. It's actually this. It's getting people to agree willfully and with choice what you're proposing. This is a great movie out called Matrix, you know it. And the whole idea is that Neo wants to choose to save Trinity and choose that he doesn't have to be the one.
You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
You know, also when you go back to the Bible, Adam and Eve, right? Mankind has free will. And even Satan's like, man will practice his free will to disobey you, God. But that's really what influence is. It's like free choice and will. So the more you can understand that people have free choice and will, and then you also combine that with what they would like anyways, the more you can influence. That's what it is. Influence is really a win-win. It's not about manipulating people to do something that they don't want to do, or they've removed their choice. It's like a win-win. How can they get what they want, and how can you get what also you want? That is what influence really is. Okay, so going back to the book here, Robert Cialdini and influence, typically there's a few ways to influence someone. They'll talk about authority, social pressure or social influence. They'll talk about returning the favors, the act of reciprocity. And they'll talk about the liking bias. They'll talk about halo bias. They'll talk about getting a yes ladder, right? And all those things work to an extent. Maybe I'll even go deeper into them at some point, but they don't work in the way that you think they would work. They don't work where they remove the person's will and the person does what you want them to do. That is not actual influence. So how do you become a person of influence, or a person that is influential, a person that could motivate, right, and guide other people? I would consider Martin Luther King. He, with his civil rights ideas and thoughts, he influenced people. He led them a certain way. I consider the government to be influencing you right now. I consider marketers to be influencing you. I consider a good sales guy as somebody who doesn't sell you an item that you don't want. He sells you what you do want, and that is influence. I consider somebody who says, I know you're really scared of a relationship. Let's get it to try. And they encourage you and motivate you to be courageous and brave and go for that relationship. I consider somebody you go out with and you're social with, and they're like, hey, see that person over there? I know you really want to talk to them. Go talk to them. That's an influential person as well. So my idea of influence is this new definition, which is being relatable and also being able to know when to lead, knowing when to be dominant, knowing when to have empathy, knowing when to ask questions, and so on and so on, okay? It's not just being dominant and going for what you want. That's not influencing. That's just how people are dumb, and a certain percentage of the population will be dumb and just follow you to whatever you want. It's not just asking questions of why. Why do you want this? Why do you want that? Why do you want that? Asking so many questions, you hope that the person likes you and that you influence them. It's not simply just showing empathy, because there's people that you care about in your life that you showed empathy to, and then all of a sudden it doesn't go anywhere. You show empathy, you do listen to them, you care for them, you give them what they want, and then nothing happens. Nothing happens, right? Maybe they take advantage of you. So it's a combination of knowing when to do all of these things, but also to be a person that is relatable is what gives you influence. All right, you understand? You have to be relatable. Even people throughout history of time that have been horrible people in the world were relatable at some point. I'm gonna give you a very, very, very graphic example here, okay? Very, very graphic here example. I don't condone this anyway. So, a lot of countries had holocausts against the Jews, or they enslaved the Jews. They put them in concentration camps. In Germany, I believe, also they put the Romani, which was the gypsies, in concentration camps. And the way they did this is they would say, these people are taking your jobs. These people out here are taking your jobs. And everybody can relate to that. These people are bringing sickness. They're bringing sickness. I don't want to be sick. And everybody can relate to that. So they're taking away what you want, right? They're making it relatable to you on a level of an everyday human being trying to struggle and get better and trying to improve your life and trying to just make it get by. They relate to you on those levels. So even dictators have to find ways to be relatable. Even dictators, you look at, for example, also what's happening with COVID right now. Whether you believe COVID is valid or a hoax, or whether you believe that the COVID vaccine can save people or not the point. What do they say to you? They say, well, you care about grandma, don't you? You want to save grandma. Don't do it for yourself. Do it for other people that you care about that are less fortunate. They make it relatable in that way, and that's how the government manipulates you.
It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth.
They actually do manipulate you because they're not trying to influence you, they're manipulating you. They're not actually telling you about the billions and billions and billions of dollars that are being exchanged by Pfizer and by Moderna and all these other companies. They don't tell you about that stuff. They tell you about what they think would be advantageous to them. You understand? So that's my definition of influence. It's also relatability, plus dominance, plus empathy, plus asking questions and knowing when to listen, knowing when to lead. It's all that. That is a true definition of influence, and I'm happy to clear that up for you today. By the way, this is just me just sharing some ideas with you here. Making you understand what influence is and what influence is not. But I go deeper into this in my program. We'll put a link for it on the bottom. If you want to learn how to actually influence yourself, to take certain actions, certain behaviors, influence your clients if you have any, influence your students, influence your spouse, influence your coworkers, make more money as a coach if you are a coach, whether you're a fitness, holistic, sales coach, motivation, whatever you do, you want to use influence, make that first $1 million of influence, then click the link down below. Check out my program. Get some more information on that at least, because listen, you learned a lot here. This is just the tip of the iceberg, as I always say, and this is just the sprinkles, baby. More of that sweet cake inside, all right? See you in a bit, and as always, keep in touch and don't be a stranger. Boom.